This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for February 19th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Goldberg talked about how easy this match would be if he was in his prime. I feel very indifferent. Goldberg in his prime would eat Roman Reigns for lunch, and there would be absolutely no competition, period. End of story. I think by him keeping himself away from me to this point, I think he's got a chance. But it's a match that's a long time coming. It's a match that I wanted to have happen 2 years ago, 10 years ago. But the fact is that I'm not in control of everything and asked to compete no matter what the time, no matter what the location, no matter what stage I am in my life. My shoulder is completely destroyed. My knee is still messed up from Lashley, but none of that is going to matter because to me, I'm still the same guy. I'm still going to eat him up and rip his face off and do what I have to do. It just so happens that I would love to have done it 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago at WrestleMania. But we all can't dictate our present, our future, or our past, and I'm going to bring 1000% of what I have in my heart and my body to be able to compete on his level, and I'm going to show that kid a little about what heart is all about. Prior to taking a leave from pro wrestling, Kenny Omega could be seen competing across different promotions. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Omega detailed how Impact Wrestling cut a segment filmed for him because of how bad it looked. I wanted to build myself up as a champion that they wanted to see defeated, and there were times when that was more difficult than others. It's a funny story actually. When I was at Impact and my hernia got real bad, they did a lot of tapings when it was a no-fan arena setting in Nashville. I would be on every week doing something, whether it was showing up at the arena or walking out to the ring to cut a little bit of a promo or interfere in a match. I wouldn't necessarily have a match all the time, but it got to a point where I would do some 6-man tag for an app special, another 6-man tag for one on TV show, maybe another tag match, and then the next day would be the pay-per-view match, and then the day after would be the follow-up TV tapings to like the pay-per-view Fallout. Those days would normally have maybe one match, but a lot of run-ins, a lot of interviews, a lot of promos. I recall having to do a run-in, I think it was on Sami Callihan, or maybe on Moose, or both actually. Every step felt like I was getting poked in the stomach with some sort of sharp object. I remember Scott D'Amore telling me after, he's like, "Kenny, we had to cut that entire segment out. You looked like a 95-year-old man walking the ring." I was like, well, yeah, it was bad. I couldn't do a run-in. I had to do a walk-in. It was kind of like the hot coals walk where I was just like, ah, 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 ah. During that same interview, Omega would talk about his return to in-ring action, saying he originally intended on being back in February. The hernia is absolutely something I want to get taken care of now. The last thing I want to do is, doctors are telling me you have the umbilical hernia. It's going to get real bad eventually and you're going to have to get it taken care of. But you can let it rip for now. I would hate to come back and let's say something happens where it just tears wide open, my intestines are spilling out everywhere. It would suck to take this time off, come back and immediately go, no, I need this other surgery now. I want to get it done now. To be able to walk around and live life, it's like a 5-day process. To be able to take impact on the abdomen area, it'll take 6 to 8 weeks before I should be doing it, before I get cleared to do it. Maybe my healing factor would kick in and it could be quicker. You have to listen to the doctors at that point. As of right now, that's going to be the longest recovery time I have to deal with. As soon as I get that taken care of, once that 8 weeks is up, that's probably going to be about the time when I make my return. In the interim, I have various knee treatments coming up. The plan, of course, and I was perhaps a little too optimistic, I was hoping to be back by February. It's not looking that way anymore. That's not to say there was a huge snag or that there is something that is terribly wrong. It's not that. It's just trying to get appointments and things fixed. You have it in your brain, oh yeah, I can call a number and I'll get in the next day. Unfortunately, there are sometimes waiting lists or there are other complications which create follow-up appointments and things like that. And there's like whole COVID thing, which has backed everything up by 2 weeks or so. That's caused me to miss appointments, which caused me to rebook, and then that extends the time again. That part of the recovery process is always really poopy right now, but it's still on track. I'm still feeling a little bit better as time goes by, and that's without having to do a lot of the major procedures that need to be done. That's just myself working with trainers and doing the proper rehab to strengthen surrounding areas of the injured areas of the body. Omega would even give his take on Cody Rhodes leaving AEW, with him noting that it's very possible that this current version of AEW just wasn't a good fit for Cody. For me, I feel like there's always going to be a place for him. You saw it in his ladder match with Sammy. He's got incredible utility and he's able to help our younger talent. It's not anything from an in-ring perspective. There's no issues there. Yeah, if I had a clear-cut answer for you guys, I would love to tell you, but I don't know it. And all I can say is that whatever he decides to do, I heard he's on a flight to Saudi Arabia. If that makes him happy, then that makes him happy. Again, the Bucks and I weren't in this for the war. So all the guys and gals at WWE doing their thing, always wishing for the best for those guys. Always. Talking about the chamber bouts, PW insiders Mike Johnson would note that obviously Vince McMahon has a private office backstage as well. We were told McMahon is being very specific about what he wants out of the Elimination Chamber matches, and some of the originally planned spots for the women's bout have been changed so they don't mirror what is planned for the men's bout. Talking with the Hindustan Times ahead of his chamber match, Austin Theory noted that he wants to break a WWE record currently held by Brock Lesnar. As an 8-year-old watching WWE for the first time, it was always a goal of mine to win the WWE title, especially the opportunity I have in Saudi Arabia out of the Elimination Chamber. This is huge. It is the biggest challenge I ever had, and this is everything that I've been working for. Everybody knows once you win the WWE Championship, your life changes, and this could possibly be me becoming the youngest WWE Champion in history. With it announced that The Undertaker will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year, the dead man reacted to this news while speaking to Joe Fryer, as he said his mother is very proud of him. She also kind of puts it together like if he goes in the Hall of Fame, he ain't getting back in the ring, so she ain't gonna be worried about her baby boy hurting anymore. Oh my gosh, yes, it's ridiculous. If I didn't call home after a pay-per-view, I was gonna hear about it. In November, Tegan Nox would be released from WWE as she went back to her former ring name Nixon Newell. Speaking to the Danger Zone, she revealed some potential opponents she has in mind to face. There are so many people from so many different companies that I want to work with. I'd like to work with Ruby Soho again. I'd love to work with her. I actually have time with Deonna Purrazzo to go longer than 3 minutes, including entrances. Chelsea Green, Mickie James, Serena Deeb. Let me wrestle Serena, my god, and Taylor Wilde. I have such a huge list of people I want to work with. Sports Illustrated recently pointed out that Brock Lesnar winning the WWE title match at Elimination Chamber, which would set up a title unification bout between the Beast and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Of course, Lesnar has hinted at this on and off screen, so this should come as no surprise to fans. Given the birth of her second child in October, Lacey Evans could be gearing up for a return to in-ring action. In the meantime, she took to Twitter to upload a throwback photo of herself with Ric Flair, where she noted that Flair told her he's in the mood for some Hooters after seeing her. She would delete this post soon after, as it'll be interesting to see what's next for the undrafted star. PW Insider would report that Cody was spotted at the Orlando International Airport with it thought he could be getting ready for a WWE return. That syncs with a WWE source that told us on February 15th that they believed Rhodes may be at the WWE Performance Center this weekend. The next day, Sports Illustrated reported Rhodes was expected at the PC to film promos this weekend. While WWE made plans for The Undertaker to be at Elimination Chamber, PW Insider reported that this idea was dropped. While he did not make the trip, at one point there were plans for newly minted WWE Hall of Famer Undertaker to make a non-wrestling appearance to celebrate his impending induction on the pay-per-view, but the plans were dropped. We were told the idea was pretty much a cameo appearance as opposed to any sort of angle. As seen, the match between the Viking Raiders and the Uso did not take place, with Jimmy and Jay attacking the Raiders, leading to the bout being called off. Fightful will note that those we heard from claimed this was the plan and it wasn't cut for time. The show had a hard out of 3 hours, but there were plenty of transitional videos that also could have been cut for time if needed. The working plan is to do the match on SmackDown in the near future, which is always subject to change. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.